Alright, welcome back to the garage. Today we're working on part 2 of the oval clip installation. Today we're going to be doing some of the body work, getting some Bondo put in on this area, feathered in, and then if we have time, start to blend it in with some primer and stuff like that, and basically blend in some of the patina. Again, I'm going to leave the bug, this rust red primer, and then blend in some of the patina areas. I already got it masked. For my first pass of Bondo, I basically kind of want to work between this body line and this area right here, and then pretty much from below the fins down. I'm not going to address this area on my first pass, so basically I'm just going to spread between here and here and here and here. I'm going to add some more tape right here. What I'm going to go over it with is the wire wheel. Strip all my paint back in these areas. Your best way to get the best adhesion for body filler is direct metal, and you kind of want to rough it up and get like maybe 30-40 grit marks on your metal to get your best adhesion on body filler. So I'm going to basically go over here, put some masking tape, go over it with wire wheel. Then after that, I'm going to go over it with sandpaper or a DA with a sandy disc with a 40 grit, and then we'll basically start applying some filler. All right, now that I got my areas back masked, just basically give me a proper line and to prevent me from going over or grinding off paint that I don't need to. I'm not worried about this center section because this whole section is going to get resprayed, but I don't want to take off too much paint here because I don't want to blend more than I need to on the body. The whole center panel, of course, is going to get resprayed, so I don't mind if I go beyond that, but I'm just trying to keep a line so I know where I'm going to spread. So I'll start grinding off the paint, and then we'll start to, I'll sand, and then we'll start to apply the filler. Got everything all wire wheeled and cleaned up. I'm gonna go over it with the DA and basically a 40 grit disc. Get this thing to focus. So 40 grit disc is pretty aggressive. The main thing I want to do is give this thing a nice tooth so the body filler has something to grab into. I've already cleaned up the panel as far as welds and everything goes, so it's perfect the way I want it, so go easy with it. Don't gouge it. Don't go over your welds anymore. You just basically want to scratch it up enough that your filler actually grabs into. So you're just going to go over it, make sure you get good and even scratches all over, but you're not trying to take off metal. So let's go over it real quick, and then we'll blow off the whole car. And then I'll probably go over it with some Windex or degreaser. This way, again, you want good adhesion for the filler, and we'll start spreading filler. So I got the bug all sanded down, back masked. I'm going to basically spread the two sides first, and then peel that, let that dry, and then back mask across here and go across the bottom on the second pass. The main thing is to kind of take your time, do your passes unless you're a professional. I don't do this on the day-to-day. You'll see some guys do some spreading magic and make this stuff look wonders. I'm actually great at making this stuff adhere, stick, and last for a long time and come out good looking in the finished product, but I'm not a magician at actually making my spread look beautiful. I will say that I am better than a lot of these sad, sorry body shops that are out there nowadays. You do see a lot of body shops putting out bad products where stuff will crack and not adhere shortly after it's being done. But my prep work and everything like that is usually spot on. I don't have any cracking or any of those issues if you follow a lot of my steps. I'm not sure if the camera is able to pick it up, but basically you do want a lot of this spiraling. What I got with the DA, which is basically the tooth that the Bondo's gonna basically grab into. And honestly, the best thing to apply Bondo or any type of filler is onto bare metal. You notice I'm not touching it. I have degreased it and cleaned it, so I don't want to touch it before I put it on. The reason bare metal is because if you're applying it to primer, paint, or whatever, the adhesion is only as good as whatever this primer, paint, or whatever adhesion is. So if this is not good, or like you see this paint here is starting to flake up and peel, if this paint flakes up and peel, then that filler is going to flake up and peel with it. So if you want the best adhesion, go straight to the metal, and then by me actually going over that metal with that 40 grit, it's kind of basically etching the metal and giving that filler a tooth to grab into. So you are not going to have this filler whatsoever crack on you or come up on you, as long as you mix it well, add the right amount of hardener on it, and then also too, we're not caking it on. You notice that when we fit this back section on, we fit it good, where we don't have crazy low spots where we're like an inch or two of filler. We're going to have minimal filler on here. It's going to be prepped right, and it's basically going to stay on here for the lifetime of this vehicle. It's not going to crack. So let me mix it, start spreading it on. Please don't laugh at me when I'm spreading it on. I do a decent job, but like I said, there's a lot of videos out there where some guys just spread it on and it looks like magic. That's not me, but as far as the adhesion and final product, it's going to be amazing. So while that's still wet, I'm going to pull up my tape just to give me my line. Otherwise it's going to be hard for me to pull up my tape afterwards. Now I'm going to mix this other spot, and then we'll do the other side. Again, pull your tape lines. So for our first pass, it's not bad at all. We quickly covered the welding spots and your low spots. Of course, it's the first pass. We're gonna feather it down. You have low spots and bubbles. I would definitely assume that I'm gonna do another pass over it, and then maybe a third pass with like some finishing filler or something that's not gonna leave bubbling and stuff like that. Once this coat dries, I'm going to go across the bottom without even sanding this, and then we'll go across the top. Before we go across the top, I'm going to probably do the same thing I did around here, which is grind back the paint, probably between my fingers, probably between here and here, because that's probably my valley that I want to fill up with filler, and be able to sand and feather back so I can get a perfectly smooth working area, so that I can block and make sure there shouldn't be any low spots outside of this area. So this way I can block 100% between that area and work the roof and know that it's 100% block between that area, and you know, if you're looking at it from any angle, it'll be dead on. So yeah, let me let this fully dry, and then I'll put you on the time lapse when I go across this. Pretty much finishes the bottom lip and the two sides. I'm gonna let them dry. I'm gonna, in the meantime, after that dries, I'm gonna again grind back the paint on the top section, spread across, and then pretty much block sand these two areas. Go over it again with the second set of this. If it needs a third set, I definitely don't think the bottom looks almost dead perfect right now. The sides may need a third set before you put in your final like finishing filler, and then basically high build, and then your patina. But as you can see, I mean, for me that back tape method really works, because like right here it kept a lot of the filler from slobbering into these fins, which would have been a pain in the butt to clean out. Also, since I don't want to, since we're not repainting the whole car, and we want to blend, and we don't want to go back beyond this body line as much as possible. You know, it really keeps a nice controlled area with the back masking, and it helps keep this body line crisp too, because I'm back masking across this body line. So I like the back masking with the body filler. If you want to use that as a trick, you know, feel free to copy it. I think it really works well. So let me start sanding this back or wire wheeling this back, and then put mud across the top of that, and then we'll block it, add some second coat, third coat if needed, and then just some finishing filler, and then high build, and then blend it in. Alright, I got the top all grounded down and back masked. So I'm going to mix up some filler, spread this on. This is going to be a little bit more tedious because it's a wider section. It's going to be a lot more filler, so I don't know how many batches I'm going to have to mix up. And then also I'm going to use, since it is a bigger piece, I'm going to use a strip of metal that I cut to bend it across and spread it across to get my arc. So let me mix up filler and start spreading that on. All right, so my time is to play with it's kind of getting hard. So I'm probably have to do it in two passes. So that pass is done. This I filled decent. So I'm gonna let that side fully harden enough so that I can mix up another batch and then just work from this side over. Overall, I think we got that side decent for my first pass, and then we'll do this side so I can get this side decent for my first pass. Right now I'm going to pull this tape before it gets too hard. Alright, that is it. Pretty much went a little bit past my work time, so it started picking it up a little bit. Other than that, it came out really good. I should have probably left it when it was, but either way, this is the first pass. Let me lift up my tape. Let me take you off the tripod here. So, you can see profile and everything of the roof. Shape-wise, I mean, it's coming out dead on. You figure this is our first pass. No sanding, no nothing. I mean, we are dead on. This graft is coming out really beautiful. Just with the nice little bit of sanding, another pass of filler, and then finishing filler, high build. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful graft. Yeah. Like I said, if you look at that profile, it's beautiful. So I'm gonna let this dry. Probably next step, I'm gonna probably toss in the inner panel before I sand and get another coat of filler on here. Get that all wrapped up. This way we don't put too much heat on it before putting on the second set of filler and the final and the primer and this and that. This way we don't damage anything. With filler, you don't really have to worry about it. With primer and paint, yeah, but it'd be best just to toss that inner panel in next. So I'm going to let this dry overnight, and then we'll toss that inner panel in next. You could also see in the corners here how thin that filler is. I mean, it's in this section right here, you can see it's already, you know, it's thin enough where it's blending into the roof. You can see the darker section. That's the actual paint of the roof peeking through. So again, we didn't lay it on thick. Same thing over here. You can see the bare metal of the roof. So I pretty much kept passing over it and over it and over it. So I'm trying to put as much of a skim coat of filler on this roof as possible. I mean, we're not caking this roof at all. So the main thing was to weld in that clip as good as possible. This way I didn't have to pretty much build a sculpture with the filler. So it's pretty much of a skim coat as possible just to kind of fill up the low areas. All right. See you tomorrow. All right, I got the bug back in the garage today. I'm going to be wrapping up the rear window oval conversion by putting in the inside panel. I got it all cut and trimmed to size, holes drilled all around to plug weld it in, and then I went over those areas, cleaned them up down to bare metal so I could weld it. Also around the oval window on the inside, cleaned all that area where I'll be making the two surfaces together down to bare metal so that I can have a really good clean weld. Same thing here, all the areas that have holes in the plug weld, ground those down to bare metal. Also off camera, I had the car outside, so it did rain on it, so you can actually see where I welded it. But I used, remember I had the two clips. The second clip that I did put in, the rear window channel was kind of rotted at the bottom. Other than that, it was really, you know, it was a good piece because it was larger than what I needed. So this section here is the bottom lip, basically the flange where the window sill seals in was rotted. It was pitted in this area, and the lip itself was rotted. So I used the original clip that I initially tested on here, cut it out, the lip, and grafted it on here. And you can see right now it's just finished in metal, and it's pretty much dead straight and smooth. I'll just go over that with a fine coat of filler, grind it, high build, it'll be fine. But you can see the rain highlighted where I welded. And you can see just with the, and I did actually patch a piece here too. So now I have a nice solid flange all the way across. But you can see basically welding it in, metal finish only, it's almost perfect. So let's get that in. Also on the inside as well, on the inner roof structure, wherever that's going to plug weld up to, I've grounded the surface down to bare metal, so I have a clean welding areas. So let's get that fitted in. I'm going to clamp it to this flange here, plug this first, then after it's fully attached to this flange, I'll plug weld this outer section to the inside. The main thing is you want to get this oval fully fitted and have that tell you where the inside's going to sit, because this is the most important, is where the glass sits. So we'll get that clamped in and fit first. Oh, also in comparison, so you kind of see what I cut. This is the other uncut piece. So of course I took out the bottom vent area that goes into the engine compartment, cut that off, and then I did trim down what was kind of unneeded. So I trimmed off some of the edges, top and bottom. Alright, got 2 clamps in place. So kind of tack it, fit it, and go from there. If it seems to bind or whatever, you can break it, but take your time and get it to fit as best as possible. The other thing is, when doing this, get yourself some brass to work with. So I'm gonna, since I'm plug welding this flange, and I do want it to penetrate good, I'm gonna hit it pretty hard, but I'm gonna sit a piece of brass behind that flange, hit it. So most likely I'll probably blow through, and I'm gonna hit this brass. The weld won't stick to the brass, so I can basically pull this back off. So it'll help me get good penetration. Even if it blows right through, I can pull this off, and the weld won't blow through and puddle out the other side. It'll stop right there, and it'll keep that nice straight flange or lip that I want. So I'm gonna play around. I'm probably use the dowel first, see if that fits in there good. If not, I'll use a flat stock. want to try and work this side before I get this side too locked in. But this bottom section meets perfect. This corner's meeting perfect. I want to get this side tied in perfect as well. See, I can still bend it kind of up and down. Bottom done, this corner done, this corner top done. Pretty much got it all centered up so you can go around and finish all the plugs. So I'm going to do those right now, and then I'll turn around the camera and we can get the inside. Between each of the plug welds, every so often you're going to get some dirt and stuff like that on, I don't know if it can focus, but you'll get dirt on the bottom of the, or on the tip of your brass, so you want to kind of clean that off. Otherwise, this is actually something that that your welds will stick to, and you don't want it to stick to, so just go through it and clean that off. There you go. In between, so I just go over with the little grinding wheel, clean it up, and then you have something again to use. It's your welder's not going to stick to. we'll weld it all the way around. Time to go inside and weld the inside. So I'll move the camera and we'll start getting the inside done. Alright, so since we got all the plug welds done for the oval lip or the window channel, we're going to work on the inside here. The top piece I'm going to have to put a filler panel in, but this bottom flange here, you can see that there's metal behind here, which I've cleaned up. You can see the silver behind it. So I'm going to have to push a panel tight against it, plug weld it tight, plug weld it tight, plug weld it, and that'll be fine. Everything lines up on that. Same thing here. I'll push this flange tight, plug weld it tight, plug weld it. On this end, is if you can see over here, my holes don't line up, which is again why I said fit this first before you fit this. If I were to fit this first and centered this, then my window channel wouldn't have lined up. You want your window channel to line up because that is your guide, not where you hacked this. Again, hacked, because you can see I'm not even perfect cut in here. Again, because it's upholstery was going to cover this, I didn't take my time in cutting this. It's wavy, but once this filler piece is in, even if I weren't to upholster it, it's a nice, with the plug welds it'll look nice. I'll even whatever filler piece I put in, of course, this piece was cut straight, and whatever filler piece I put in will also be cut straight. There's a bulge here, so I'll make sure that it lines up and follows that bulge perfectly, so you won't see that, of course, that, you know, what was underneath has a curve to it. So you pretty much cover a lot of that. So let's just start plugging that in. Again, all this will be plugged in. Where I miss these holes, I'm going to probably put a couple tacks on the outside. By the time I get down here, I catch the holes again, so I'll plug. So this will be a lot easier than this. This was more time consuming. You don't want to blow through this and damage this, because this is going to basically be have to be watertight. Although I do have a surprise for you. We are going to do a pop-out window on the back here like we have in the front, and so that'll be for a future episode. So of course not as watertight necessary, but I did build it to put an original window in if need be. But anyways, let's get started on this, and then I'll let you watch me. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to do. This is kind of close proximity. I might have my back to you, and it might cover up a lot of the your visibility, but let's get going on it. with this to hold it tight, I'm thinking of hitting it with some sheet metal screws to suck it in and then plug weld it. Alright, so that seems a lot better now. Then we'll plug weld it in. Let's try and get this rear panel finalized. I cut a piece to tie in the top. I'm going to probably do it in 3 pieces, only because these 2 corners curve quite a bit from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to fill in the middle section first. I'm going to tuck this behind and then tack it to the top. So let's get started on this. So it pretty much ties the top and bottom panel together 100%. I'm just going to finish these 2 corners, but I'm pretty much going to wrap up the video right here. It's getting kind of long, but this came out really good. This panel's super tight now. Even this the bar that I had in here, I had it in here to tilt this piece down because it had kind of flexed up since it was cut and there was nothing holding it in there. Actually, after we tied it together, it pushed this bar a lot tighter and closer to the ceiling than it was previously, so everything's now fitting tight like it should be. I'm gonna go through and add a few more tacks between here and then all the way around. It'll be stronger than it was from factory. Factory was spot welded in pretty much just like here, so about every inch or 2 apart. So if I add stuff between here, it's going to be stronger. But yeah, it's pretty much done. I'll go through, grind everything smooth. This will all be upholstered anyways. So that's pretty much it for this. I'll get started on the body work. On the outside, basically sanding it, primering it. Next episode, we'll be cutting the roof and doing the rag top. So that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. The let me get out of here and we'll do our outro. Alright, so that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. Right now I'm just gonna start finish up a few tacks and then start grinding and doing the body work on the outside of the roof. Next episode we're going to be doing a rag top on this, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe and like down below. You don't want to miss out on that episode. We're going to finish up the rag top on this, and then we got a lot of other stuff to do on this. We'll be getting the engine in on this bug and then getting it running. I got some other wheel and tire treatments to be doing on this. I don't know if you guys noticed, I put some APs on this. We had smoothies on it originally. Like I mentioned before, I do a lot of wheel and tire setups, so I'll be showing you guys some different wheel and tire treatments that we could be doing on the bugs. As far as suspension mods, this already has adjustable narrow front beam and then adjustable rear arms, so we'll get this dialed in and everything once we get the engine in, slam it, but we might also do an air ride out back and let you see what that's like. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, like, subscribe down below, and see you on the next episode. See you.